Hey there, and welcome to Climate. Today we're going to talk about two terms you've heard about a lot: global warming and climate change. Now, to understand these phenomena better, we have to think about a fancy term called emissions. Now, to understand this, let's take a trip back in time to the 1700s during the first industrial revolution. Now, during that time, people from small villages started migrating to bigger cities. And what happened was that small businesses had shifted from small shops in the villages to big factories in the cities, and fossil fuels had just become more common. There were things like coal, oil, and gas. And even today, we have industries all over the world, and most of them burn fossil fuels. When you burn coal, for example, it releases CO2, or carbon dioxide. Now, we have industries all over the world burning fossil fuels. That means we have a lot more CO2 in the atmosphere now. So, what's the problem? When you breathe in O2, you end up breathing out CO2. And it has always been this way. But now, natural balance is being affected. Take this graph, for example. Now, on the top left of this graph, you'll notice something called ppm. But what is ppm? Well, ppm stands for parts per million. And to learn about this better, we're going to take an example of a cake. And we divide this cake into a million pieces. And out of those million pieces, we take out 400 chocolate pieces. And now those 400 chocolate pieces are 400 parts per million, or 400 ppm. Got it? Now, in this graph, we're going to show you the amount of carbon dioxide in ppm in the atmosphere from the 1800s till 2020. And you'll notice that there's a gradual increase, right? But it soon starts spiking up, and it gets worse. Yeah. So this is a graph, and in the bottom we show the amount of years before the present. That's 800,000 years ago. You'll also notice the graph fluctuates a lot, till 200,000 years ago, and then it starts peaking at this time. And that's because the CO2 in the atmosphere is a lot, and that's a big deal, right? So what does that mean? That means that there is more CO2 now, and it's increasing exponentially, and that's bad. But now you'll ask, why is that bad? Well, CO2 ends up trapping heat. And the more CO2 that's in our atmosphere, the warmer the Earth ends up getting, the global average temperature ends up rising, and that causes global warming. Now, what's climate change? Well, because of global warming, the Earth ends up experiencing a lot of changes, not like puberty, bad changes. For example, ice caps end up melting, sea level ends up rising, there's a lot of extreme weather events, and ocean acidification. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, pun intended. There's so much more, and these are called the impacts of global warming, caused by global warming, and they end up leading to climate change. Now, time for a quick recap. Global warming is basically the Earth getting hotter due to the presence of CO2 in the atmosphere, and that leads to climate change. And climate change ends up having a lot of negative side effects such as extreme weather events, sea level rise, and so on and so forth. We hope this cleared out a lot of things for you, and if not, we'll be talking about this a lot more in our future videos, so stay tuned, and yeah, see ya!